you healed this. What was the first step to healing emotional eating for you?
Emotional eating is not about fixing the food. It's not about the food. When we go to emotional eating on the layer of deep healing and not about fixing the food, now we're in a completely different ballgame. Now we're healing your whole life. Now we're healing your relationships, the way you show up. Everything is getting an upgrade and an up level. And I remember it being said to me early on, if you need it, if you have to have it, it's probably not the right time to have it.
There has to be something that happens that might trigger you or anyone else who, doesn't usually have this issue. It's like, how do you work through those emotions in real time? Marla, you had an unhealthy relationship with food growing up, and in a TEDx talk, you shared a diary entry from when you were a young girl where you wrote down that you weighed 95 pounds and that you were on a diet so that you would weigh 90 pounds. I'm curious, how old were you then, and how did you view food at that time?
I think I was around 12 or 13. And the interesting thing about that is that I was watching my food then, but I was writing down my food. I remember my journal entries were writing down what I ate, but it was like pizza, cereal, ice cream, and like all those were fine. But it was the fact that I was tracking, and it was the fact that I wanted to be 5 pounds lighter. And that was eye-opening to me, because when I look back on my childhood, I didn't think that I was fueled by that. And what was striking to me is that journal entry at that time, when I had found it, when I found that journal entry, and then I looked at my journal entry, what was that, in my 20s or 30s, it was almost the same thing. The food was healthier and the numbers were different, but it was the same thing. This is what I ate today, and I want to be 5 pounds lighter. And so the insanity of that, the insanity of our thoughts and how the mind works and the mindset. And so literally the neural pathways in my brain that are saying, eat healthier, lose weight, ever since I was such a young girl. And I think that is quite normal. Unfortunately, there are so many young girls who feel that way, or looking at their food that way, or looking at their bodies that way. That's being modeled in social media, everywhere.
Why do you think that is? I know you just mentioned social media, but it starts at such a young age. Where do you think it stems from initially?
Well, I think it's been in our culture for a very long time. I think that the woman's body has been projected upon, violated, imprinted, that you were just here, you're just a body. You didn't have much value or worth. You didn't have an opinion that mattered. You had a body, and that was to be used, and it was to look a certain way to bring pleasure to the eye of the man. And so that goes back as far as we can even imagine. And then you update it to this day and age, and how that shows up in our world is that the women are running that now. The women, we've believed it. It's in our bones. It's in our blood. We believe the lie. And so we're buying into it by saying we need to lose weight. We are comparing ourselves to others. We are being compared to, we're signing up for the diets. We're telling ourselves that we're wrong if our bodies aren't a certain weight. And it is a big cluster of overall dis-ease of the mind and the spirit. Really, it's our spirits that have been gotten too involved in the body form. And I believe it is a fight. I believe it is a fight. We can't just be like, oh, well, we have to literally stand as a courageous act to say, this body I love, even if it's not the ideal standard, or even if I'm not holding the perfect weight that I know that I'm supposed to. I have a client of mine, and she's surrounded, she's in the entertainment business, and she's surrounded by people who are taking Ozempic and people who are completely in diet culture. It's so in that world, and she's not doing the fillers on her face. She's not doing Ozempic. She's working with me to heal the under layers of where the food stuff has come from. And I've said to her, I want to acknowledge you that you are standing up for your truth in an environment that is hard to do. I believe that every woman who loves themselves and stands in that's courageous.
Mhm. I was actually just talking to a friend of mine a couple of days ago who was a chaperone for his son's school trip, and they were going to a baseball game. And he texted me how too many of the girls are wearing makeup, and these are 12-year-olds. And I just thought, wow, like I tried to think of like when I started wearing makeup, and I know it wasn't that young. And I feel like the impressions and these standards that are being put on girls and young women, they're starting earlier and earlier as time goes on. I
Because
mean,
they have access to it. They have access to it through social media. They're watching, they're seeing. I didn't have that. I didn't grow up with social media. Thank God,
right?
because I was already like, I've always already had, eating disorder, disordered eating, such a tumultuous relationship with my body. Add social media to that, I can't even imagine what my life would have been like.
Mhm. Yeah, I imagine we both had TV ads and commercials and just little, innuendos that were put in movies and shows. And then we had magazine covers and articles telling you, what you should look like and what beautiful is. And it's also constantly changing. So you can never actually, it's a moving target. So you can never reach it.
No, and I've seen those posts where, well, I'll just say this. There is something good going on in social media where there are a lot of people like yourself who are sharing the good news, who are sharing a good message of positive body image and what it actually means to eat healthy, and are putting out and holding people in that space of what true love means for themselves. And that happens. And one woman who I follow, she was showing how this one celebrity was just being blasted because she had weight on it. I mean, she was like a normal human being, right? And then fast forward a month later, looked like she had done some Ozempic because she went from like nothing to a weight to like super thin. And then there were people blasting her for her body there too. So you can't really win. So who
Mm-hmm.
you can win with is with yourself and with your alignment with spirit and God. That's the true north, not the external. And that's the thing. I mean, we all want to feel good. We all want to look good. I mean, I have makeup on. I'm not saying that, but I'm saying that if I am here right now on your show to get external validation, then I'm going about it all wrong. Right? Like what we do and how we show up is to be of service to ourselves, to our relationship with God, and to our relationship with those that we love.
Absolutely. So you were battling with this for years. You said in your 20s or 30s, you had an almost identical diary entry from that first one.
Yes. Yeah. When I started getting support for an eating disorder, I think I was around 28. I'm 51 now. So I started my journey. I tried before, but my tactics before were just controlling my food and getting my body to a certain weight. That was the recovery I was in. I was not really in recovery, but when I realized that my food issues and my body issues needed deeper support, that this was an emotional issue, this was something bigger going on than just my body isn't the weight that I want it to be, and I'm binging and I'm restricting. I like the restricting. That I always felt good about, when I could be a good girl and restrict. But it was then when I would binge, then there was something wrong. And so, but when I started in my late 20s, it took me a while to recover. And I think it does take some time. I know that people are fed that recovery is step 1, step 2, step 3, and then you're healed. That's not reality.
No.
Our bodies, our beings, the emotional layers, it takes time to unwind. I don't think it has to take as long as it took me, because I had support. I couldn't have done it without support, but I piecemealed that support together. And now I know, and I'm grateful for that, because now I know what actually works. I know what brings true peace. I know what brings true freedom. I see it over and over again with my clients, and it's beautiful to witness.
You mentioned emotional eating, which I feel like is huge for probably 99% of the planet can connect and relate with that, because we all tie some type of food to some type of emotion. I think that starts, I don't know, when we're babies or toddlers or something, where, you think of things like mac and cheese or chocolate chip cookies or your mom's homemade lasagna or whatever it might be, and you have an emotion tied to that. So maybe even like ice cream. I know that's one for a lot of people. So then they have this attachment to it that's emotional, and it's hard for them to stop eating that certain food. So I'm wondering, you healed this. What was the first step to healing emotional eating for you?
Even realizing that it was the realization that I was eating over everything that I was feeling. And so let's lay this out. Emotional eating, is not necessarily bad. Just like you said, it started as we were suckling on our mama's boob. It was comfort. Like that was more than just nourishment for our bodies. That was love. And so we have that imprint, whether we were bottle fed or whether we were on our mother's breast. That was the nourishment of love. So the imprint of emotional eating is not necessarily bad. It's also, we celebrate our lives, and we celebrate, and it's yummy, and it's good. And emotional eating is not just overeating. It's dieting, because that happens too. Have a feeling, I'm going to plan a diet. I don't feel good about myself. I feel low self-esteem. I will diet, I'll restrict, and now I'm going to control. I have no control in my life. Let me control my food. That's emotional eating. It's not just coming home and shoving a bunch of food in your mouth because you're tired and stressed out. That is one little piece of it. And so we have to realize all the ways that we are emotionally eating, and to realize that it works. Like, it works. It brings us the dopamine. It gives us that reprieve, and it relaxes us. It literally grounds us. So when we're stressed out and we haven't fed ourselves enough, and we're not taking care of ourselves, what do we want? We want to eat. Why? Because it calms the nervous system. It brings us down. It brings us pleasure. But all these things we need to be aware of. What I noticed, Jessica, is people come to me because they've been emotionally eating, and now they've gained weight, and now it's an issue. Now it's an issue. Or the other thing is, the food noise is so loud that they can't hear anything other than the food noise. And now they're like, I need this to stop. I feel like I'm insane. And so emotional eating is not about fixing the food. It's not about the food. It is, but it isn't. But people want to come and they're like, okay, I'm going to get all the food out of my house. And I need you to tell me what to eat, Marla, so that I don't emotionally eat, so I can just be controlled in my little thing. I'm like, doesn't fully work that way. We can have boundaries and we can have systems set up. However, we need to find why we're emotionally eating. What is the root here? And some of it can be the practical. Are you feeding yourself enough? Are you sad about something that's lingering? That all you need to do is lean towards it just a little bit and cry a little bit, and then it's gone. And when someone has a true disordered eating and emotional eating, it's connected usually to something deeper. There's a deeper layer here. What I notice is that when I start working with someone, I'm tracking them and finding like, oh, there's the wound. That's the wound we're working with. And lots of times there's little wounds, little tiny wounds that kind of make a little forest fire. But usually there's one that everything is kind of wrapped up around. So when we find that, now we can be with that. Now we can work with that. And now we can heal that. And the food loosens its grip. The negative body image loosens its grip. Does that make sense?
It does. In fact, it's giving me an image of like an ice pick and just like kind of chipping away. Like you have this big mountain of emotions and you find it, and now you're just kind of like chipping away at it. Because I imagine that it's a coping mechanism. You can use eating as to cope with emotions you don't want to feel. So basically, in a sense, and you can correct me if I'm wrong, you're using food to suppress those emotions.
Absolutely. You're either using restricting, or you're using the food, or you're thinking about food so you don't have to think about what's really going on. And we all have coping mechanisms, every one of us. And to this day, what happens for me is that when I start to notice that my mind is going a little like, oh, I want that thing. Oh, I want that thing. Or it's, oh gosh, I've noticed I've overeaten like 3 days in a row at dinner a little bit. Like, I slow down. I'm like, what's going on here? Because that is food, negative body image. When I start thinking mean things to myself, that's a sign. It's not that I need to fix the food or I need to fix, it's that something is up. It's like, okay, ding, 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 ding. And so if we use that as a way to be like, oh, I'm thinking about food a lot. Oh, I just shoved that thing in my mouth. Oh, there must be something I need to attend to. There's something inside that needs support and love and care. And you can say that with eating. You can say that with any coping mechanism.
Yeah, no, this I can definitely, I'm sure the listeners can relate with this because there's many times, where I'll pause myself, be like, am I actually hungry? What am I trying to avoid right now or not look at? So you said the step one to healing emotional eating would be awareness. So what comes after that? What's something practical that someone can do once they become aware that they are doing this?
Breathe. Notice what's here. Get into your body if you can, if that feels safe. Take a moment, take a breather, take a pause, get present. And that is easier said than done when people say that, like get present. But the getting present is, we can be getting present to the fact that I can't get present. There's too much going on. I can't slow down. I need to keep going. We can get present to the fact that we can't get present. And the more we learn the tool of getting present with ourselves, I believe it's a muscle. The deeper of a relationship we can have with ourselves. And what I teach people as a very practical tool that we can go to in those moments. my book is all about that. My book is called Befriend Yourself. And when I was healing my relationship with my body and food, it was a journey of becoming best friends with myself. So in those moments where I was feeling whatever I was feeling, I would ask myself, what would I give to my best friend right now? If this was my best friend that was feeling this way, what would I invite her to do? What would I tell her to do? How would I support her? How would I love on her? Oh, would I bring her some water? Would I tell her to get off your phone and sit there? Right? Is the tough love of a friend? Is it the love of the friend that's like, you need to sit and you need to cry. You're upset. Something upset you. Feel it. Right? So we all know how to be a friend. We all know what it feels like to have a good friend. We all know how it feels to have not a very good friend, the one that wasn't faithful and didn't show up. And if we look at friends in our life and we pick the ones that are a role model, we want to be that towards ourselves. And that sounds kind of like a nice meme, like a nice, be friends to yourself. But if you take that practice and do it, listen, what would my best friend tell me to do right now? What would I give to this part of me? If I was my own best friend, what would I give? It changes everything. It changes the perspective. It brings in compassion. It allows you to see yourself. It allows you to replace the voice inside your head, the one that tells you that there's something wrong with you. I can't believe you're doing this. You need to keep going. It replaces that voice with one that's more compassionate.
I'm pretty sure this is a meme, but something I read along these lines is talk to yourself like someone you love.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah.
Yeah. Your best friend is someone who loves you, who sees you, who notices you. It does change everything.
It does. So basically, if you find yourself emotional eating or eating emotionally, you need to become aware of it and be kind to yourself, have grace as you breathe through it, recognize it. And then basically you're taking control. You're not giving control to this impulse because you're
Yeah,
becoming aware.
exactly. And sometimes we still do. And this is the journey of healing. The celebration is that you noticed it, you were aware of it, you gave yourself compassion and love, you cared for yourself, and you got yourself in a different state of mind. And then maybe you still ate the thing, but your nervous system is different. It's not about not having the thing. It's the end result that we're going for, but that is not even the celebration, because there is a part of the journey where people are like, I don't even want to binge and I still am. I'm doing this and I'm doing this, and I'm doing this, but I'm still doing the binge. I'm like, and the thing is that you've loosened your grip on it. There's a part inside that still doesn't feel safe without it. So now we're working on a deeper layer that is saying, I still don't feel safe about the binging. Oh, okay. So let's now work with this layer of you. Let's see who this is, what character this is, what inner child this is. Let's work on that layer. And then when we get that part of you healed, we get that part that is like, I feel safe, then the binging can go away, then emotional eating. So there are layers to this. And that is why it can be super helpful to work with someone who is able to see what's going on, know where you are in the journey, and doesn't track your progress from just willpowering it. We can use willpower to do anything until we can't, because we will our deepest wounds will hijack us. They will hijack us from deep healing because of a fear. But when we come to emotional eating on the layer of deep healing and not about fixing the food, now we're in a completely different ballgame. Now we're healing your whole life. Now we're healing your relationships, the way you show up. Everything is getting an upgrade and an up level.
You work with women who are recovering from eating disorders. Is there something that you see as a common root cause? Is there a pattern, or is there something that shows up most often where this is the emotion, this is the main thing that these women are battling with internally, and that leads to these eating disorders?
I feel into that. There's different. What I notice is there's a moment in their upbringing where they didn't get what they needed emotionally. They weren't seen. They weren't acknowledged. They weren't appreciated. Their feelings weren't taken care of. And in that moment, they started to use food, whether that was controlling food and not eating it or using it. And you don't have to do that many times to get the imprint that, oh, this actually works. They don't work. This works. And so the connection of love gets wired to the wrong connection. And now that wound under there of not being seen or cared for, or trauma, right? Like things happen. The way that our parents were, the way that it's there. Some of it is not, some of it is because we're being brought up by people who are also human beings with their own lack and their own issues. And some of it is major trauma that happens to us as children. And so we're working on that level and rewiring that to get that connection of love to be it connected to the right circuitry and the right source. Now, that being said, Jessica, I see a lot of mother wound where the mother isn't present, the mother's there or controlling or tells them that their feelings don't matter. I see a lot of women who have dealt with sexual violation and intimacy. That's a big piece. And that brings up a lot of different things because food is pleasure. And so when we get pleasure, unwanted pleasure, it also makes the circuitry all off. And then it makes us shame our bodies. And now society tells us we're supposed to look good, but then if we look good, then we get attention. It's a myriad of experiences, and it shows up in our food for those who have had any sort of sexual violation, big or small. Every piece of it can impact your relationship with your body or food.
Wow, I did not ever connect those dots as far as pleasure and how that would ripple over into our relationship with sex. So our relationships in general, with once we're in them, our emotional eating or our relationship with the food could literally spill over into every other area of our life, which makes perfect sense, but I never connected the pleasure piece to that.
Yeah, I'll tell you a story. I had a client years ago, and she's just, she's just we all as children, we're all these sensual beings, right? But she's so connected to her sensuality and her love. And right now she's doing all these sensual retreats, and I'm so happy for her when I see her, because when she came to me, she shared her story, and the story was, and she's okay with me sharing this, just so put that out there. She was in that coming of age, and she had kissed a boy, and it was the first time, and she was so excited. And her her father saw her and he got really scared and he shut it all down. And he shut her down. She wasn't able to be social. She wasn't able to go out. Like her life was going to school and coming home. That was it. So pleasure was shut down, and there was fear and there was shame and there was upset. So she would binge, and she would do it at night, and she had a connection of bread and pleasure, and bread is bad and food is bad because food brings pleasure. So we had to unwind that whole thing and put it in its right place. And yes, we're working with the food, and we're even working with some of the practical things around it. However, we're working with the connection that food is pleasure and pleasure was bad. It's like, no, pleasure wasn't bad. You were never bad.
Now, was she able to put that together, or did it take some digging and then it was kind of like an epiphany once she realized that that's where it stemmed from?
Yeah, that was us working together.
Wow. So
That was
she
working.
she
She
lived
didn't
with that
come to
for
me. Yeah, she didn't come to me knowing that story. She knew
Mhm.
that that was traumatic, and she knew she had a food thing. So what happens, Jessica, I notice in my practice more and more, is people have gone to therapy, they've done a lot of the work, and it's so helpful. But when we bridge the story of our trauma and our wounds, and we bridge it and we connect it to the food, now we're working, now we can heal it because now we understand it. But if we just take over here and we just work with this, we're going to heal things, but the connection to the food, it changes it all, because it's changing how it shows up in our coping mechanism. And by working with the food, we're also healing that. So it's another deeper layer.
Interesting. Okay, so when you're working with someone on this, what does eating look like? I mean, do they continue eating like they normally would, or are there specific rules and guidelines around, okay, don't eat those foods because we've connected it to this, or don't eat at this time, or if you're feeling this way, don't eat. How does that work to go on your day-to-day life while you're still working on this?
Yeah, it depends on the person, but I don't give people food boundaries. Usually people who come to me, they already know every rule in the book.
Mm,
They know how to eat. They know what they're not supposed to eat. They have more shame on themselves about what they're eating. So the last thing I need to do is say, don't eat that.
right.
I mean, it's like I'm not their authority. They come to me to find their own authority and their own truth. So I will guide them. The one thing I will say is, and this is one to work on. I think everyone can work on this, myself included. I still have to remind myself, don't eat anything if you're in a heightened state. Even if it's not just because it's a coping mechanism, it's because our gut doesn't digest if it's in a heightened state. It needs to be in that rest and
Rest and
digest
digest.
state. So and I remember it being said to me early on, if you need it, if you have to have it, it's probably not the right time to have it.
Mm.
So I'll say to them, okay, you can have the thing, but go through your process first. Go through the whatever it is that you're going through, have that with yourself, and then sit down to your bowl of ice cream and enjoy it from a pleasurable place. Or maybe you don't even want it. So it's the steps I give people is like, if there's a green light and you're feeling like this is a good idea, but if you're like, oh, I don't know if I can eat that thing. I don't know. I I can remember many times where I've said to myself, I don't feel safe to go and have cake right now, because the space that I'm in, I'm not going to eat that as a normal. I'm not going to just have a piece of cake. I'm in it. So then I would just set the boundary that I'm not going to have it. Okay, I can have it tomorrow. So for me, I come from a lot of restriction. So there's been there's had to be a lot more permission. And some people come and they're still connected to all processed food. And that's a tricky one because the processed food does have an addictive quality to it. And that addictive quality is a whole other thing that we're working with. But for me to come and say, you need to stop eating processed food, now we're working with the fact that I told them to not eat processed food and using willpower.
Right. Yes, that's a whole other battle to face when it comes
Totally.
to, yeah, because I mean, it's engineered to make you addicted and
Totally. And then we make ourselves wrong for it. It's like, well, you're eating processed food. Like that's what they want you to do. Want more of
right,
it.
right.
You're not a failure. You're just eating the wrong food.
hmm Another thing I'm thinking of as you're talking is, like you said, you don't want to eat anything when you're feeling these strong emotions. And then, like we talked about earlier on, is society and the way that things are presented to us and sold to us. And I think of things like Valentine's Day or breakups and how it's always like, oh, you go eat a box of chocolates or you go eat ice cream or you go, like you tie this to these emotions and it's normalized and that's what you do. Even with celebrating, like you eat cake or what have you. And yeah, so it's like we know better. We know not to do that. But then also we feel sad, so we want some chocolate. And then I wonder also if if we're feeling this emotion and we go ahead and eat anyway because let's say we're making dinner, we find out some news, now we're feeling some type of way. We eat dinner anyway when we're feeling like that. Now are we tying that emotion that we are feeling to that food? Or does that have to happen when we're, you know, 3 to 7 years old? Can that happen later
I
on?
think it can happen I think it likely can happen at any point. I am not a, a I'm not an expert in knowing all the brain stuff around that, but I know for myself, when I feel into the deepest connections to food and my emotions, I do feel like they're still from my childhood though. One of the stories I tell in the book is how I'll tell the story very quickly, but I was probably 15 or 16 and I was already so into ice cream. I loved ice cream. I loved it. And I found a notebook where all my friends were writing about me and making fun of me. There were pictures of me. They just like said every mean thing about me, making fun of me and all that.
Like
These are
like
like
Mean Girls.
yeah, but they were my best friends, right? Like, so I didn't think they were the mean girls. They were my best friends and I had that experience. And I remember going home and my mom picked me up and I was, of course, devastated. Devastated. I think one of my early, like, oh, like that. When I think about that, I still feel like, whoa, that part of me, that was a wound that said, you are not safe being who you are, Marla, because the people the closest to you are going to make you wrong and they're either going to be jealous of you, which isn't okay because they won't love you, or they're going to point at you and say that who you are is wrong. You're too much. You're not enough. You're all the things. And that's what I got from that. And I believe that I've been working that piece of healing out for a long time. And I think we all have a little bit of that. Like, am I safe to be me? Is it safe to be me? We're doing that our whole dance. We do it now and we do it our whole childhood because we get the cues from our parents. Is this behavior okay? Oh, this behavior is okay. This behavior isn't. This behavior is praised. That behavior isn't. We're like monitoring our nervous system and what is safe. Who are we? So to point it back to the food, I came home and my mom said, do you want to go for ice cream? And my mom tells a story that I got in that I got in. I'm like, can I have the big one? She's like, yes, you can have the big one. And she took me for ice cream. Now, I'm not saying that was wrong because it actually worked. It calmed me down. Did it heal that? No, that took me the rest of my life, right? To heal. However, if she knew that I had the propensity to go into eating disorders and all of that, she wouldn't have given me my drug of choice in that moment. Had she
Right.
known that we open a wound and now you're going to shove sugar and ice cream into that wound, it's essentially what happened. She definitely wouldn't have done that. Mothers wouldn't do that. That's the last thing they want to do. And I often wonder what had happened if I were left to feel that with my mother's love, who was very loving, and not have that the middleman, which was the ice cream. How would that have imprinted my relationship with food? I'll never know. I'm here for a reason. And it's interesting, right?
Yeah, I'm interested how you would handle something like that now. I mean, not just something that would upset you, instead of like, how do you work through that emotion in the moment instead of eating something? Like, I'm sure
Yes.
there has to be something that happens that might trigger you or anyone else who, doesn't usually have this issue. It's like, how do you work through those emotions in real time?
Oh my gosh. I mean, I still have them. Like my husband pisses me off and I'm just like, I need chocolate. Oh my God, why is there chocolate? I'm like, oh, I'm really angry right now. Okay, let me just take a moment and like, oh, why am I angry? What's upsetting me? Right, right. Feel all those things.
Mhm.
And and so it's there. It's here. It's not it doesn't, a lot of it's gone. Oh my gosh, so much of it's gone. The noise is gone, all of it is gone. But so I think it's about a year ago, maybe even less than a year ago, I was doing some very deep healing around some things. And I had unearthed something in me that I felt like I was, for those who do really deep work, when you go in, it almost feels like your grounding is, it's like you're finding new grounding in yourself. And I felt that. And I started having all these feelings of like, oh my gosh, I don't want to binge. Like, where is this coming from? Like, there's this animal part of me that wants to like primarily shove food in my mouth. And it was coming from this, and what it is it's a body. It's my animal, it's my body being like, I am not safe. This isn't okay. Something is not right. And that cues that part of my brain that says, you need food, remember? So
Mm.
sometimes when those moments, I'm like, oh, I wonder if I'm tapping in to the beginning of this healing, like when this wound started, like I'm tapping into that a little bit. And so what I did was, first off, I noticed it, I was aware of it, I didn't act on it. I told my husband, um, I told one of the person who I go to, I shared it with them. I didn't pretend like it wasn't happening. I didn't have imposter syndrome about it and say I should be over this. I used it as fuel. I'm sharing this with you right now, like it's part of who I am. And and I just was like, okay, then we're going to have a nice big meal. We're going to prepare the meal. We're going to get present with the meal. We're going to enjoy the meal, and we're going to allow ourselves to feel satiated. There's something about being satiated, not like not eating. Like that would just have kept me up. But satiating myself and giving myself the gift of what food actually gives, not from that place of binge. It didn't take very long at all. And that maybe I had that for a couple of days, where it would show up. Maybe it showed up twice in a couple of days, but the fact that I was with it on this level, allowed for, I met myself. I met myself as if my best friend would say, wow, you're a little off. Are you okay? Well, I think I just need a drink. No, no, no. I need a drink. What's going on? What's up? Let's talk. Right? Like that was the layer of the best friend that I showed up for myself.
It's like you could witness yourself outside of yourself.
Yep. And so deeply inside myself. I'm like, whoa.
So basically, there is no escaping these emotions. It's just really becoming aware and being very present with them.
Yeah. And I will say that there's certain things that I used to do that I don't even think about that are gone. Like I can't even, it's like we do the true healing when we don't even remember that we had that issue. So I'll work with my clients and they're like, oh, I don't do that anymore. I'm like, wait. You don't do that anymore? Do you know that you came in and that was like the worst thing in the world? She's like, yeah, that doesn't happen. I'm like,
Yeah.
I don't know, just the work we're doing. I don't do it anymore. I'm like, right? There's certain things that just go away, like poof, 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 poof.
Yeah, it's like is it like dominoes or what is it the analogy where it's like you go to heal one thing and by doing it all these other things that you weren't
All
even
those things.
yeah, it's amazing.
It's grace. It's grace. When we show up for ourselves, like God shows up, like grace shows up.
I have probably 20 other questions I want to ask you, but obviously we don't have time for that. But is there anything that we didn't cover that you think is very, very important that you just feel we should at least touch on or that the listeners might benefit from hearing?
Don't think that you can do this on your own. Lean in for support. And also realize that if everyone around you is wrapped up into diet culture and everyone around you is obsessed with what their body looks like and what they're eating, and you're suffering, we normalize it because everyone's talking and everyone's obsessed. We think that it's normal. And there is another way. Even if you've been struggling your whole life, there is another way of being. There's another way of living. It is possible. No matter what you've done, it is possible to heal. I've seen it over and over again. And if I can do it, you can do it. And the you can do it is being held with someone who can see the different layers. And I believe that having a practice that brings in God, spirit, higher power, source into the mix that brings in a higher vibration of love. Because when we're in the spin of this, our ability to conjure up self-love can be very limited. So we need to connect into a force, an unlimited force of love. And that, I believe, is through spirit, through God. And that's where we get our intuition. That's where we get to say that when we tune into that, our intuition comes alive. Our body begins to speak to us. We be able to listen to our body. We begin to trust our body. And that all opens up.
Oh, Marla, you are such an amazing inspiration and role model for young women. I'm so happy and grateful for the work that you do. I'm so happy that you came on as a guest, and I do have two closing questions for you. But before I ask them, where can the listeners go to learn more or to potentially work with you? I don't know if you need to be in person in Hawaii.
No, everything's online.
Oh, good.
Everything is virtual. I'm very open to speaking to each of you. If you're feeling the tug, reach out to me. My website is Love Your Body, Love Yourself. And on there, you're going to find my free gift, which is how to break the cycle of emotional eating. It's free, but it's quite meaty in information. And so you can find me there. You can find the information for my book, which is Befriend Yourself, Finding Freedom with Food and Peace with Your Body. And I'm on Instagram. Love your body, love yourself always.
Perfect. That will be in the description. My first question for you is, what is your number one health tip? So that could be mindset, diet, and nutrition, physical, emotional, just the one piece of advice that you would like everyone to know.
Stop talking mean to yourself. Just knock it off. Start being nicer. Talk to yourself nicer. Listen to the thoughts inside your head and turn them a little bit more to the positive and keep getting more and more positive. Biggest bang for your buck.
Yeah. Okay, the last question will be more of a personal question. You'll choose a number 1 through 100, and that will correlate to the question.
Okay, 79.
Any significant reason behind 79?
I have no idea. It just popped into my head.
Do you think there's life after death?
100%. Yeah, that's interesting. Interesting question. I had a whole conversation with my client yesterday about that. And she was questioning whether there was, and I have absolutely no doubt. I feel it, I sense it. Yeah, definitely.
Thank you, Marla. This has been an absolute pleasure. And I'm, again, just so grateful for the work that you do. And I know that you're helping more women than you even know out there, especially by coming on shows like this and sharing about what you do. So thank you.
Thank you, Jessica, for having me. Thank you, all you listeners.